Okay, we're going to continue on with the review packet. In this video, we're going to talk about what happens and how we're going to deal with multiple parallel lines and transversals. Okay, one of the strategies we talked about in the last video is covering up. You can cover up. Anyway, we're going to talk about this a little bit in the next few frames. If you're given multiple parallel lines or transversals, you'll want to think about just one transversal and pair of parallel lines at a time. So I'm going to show you what that might look like. Here, I've kind of faded out this transversal and this parallel line so we can just focus on what we learned last time. Last time we said if we were given this 130-degree angle right here, well, this is what it would look like if we were just doing the two lines that cross. We'd have a set of vertical angles that are the same, and then we would have a set of angles that are supplementary. When you do these angles on this, they're always either equal or supplementary, as long as you don't have other lines crisscrossing in the pattern. So like right here, you might have some problem with that, but that's not one of our vertical lines, and so I told you in the last video to kind of skip over it, and I'm going to do that here when we do this. So we find all these angles here, and when we do that, we end up finding, okay, 30 and 50 right here give me this 180 degree angle right there. Okay, and if I came around here, this angle would have to be supplementary because that's a straight line. It's also vertical, so it's going to be 130. That one's 130. And this one right here is 50. Now that other number right there could kind of get in our way, especially if the drawing is small. But now what am I going to do? I'm going to take this and just basically, as though I could cut it or slide it down the transversal, I'm going to go down the transversal to just my next parallel line, and I'm going to put the same numbers in the same corresponding positions. 130, 50, 50, and 130. Why didn't I do it here? Because that's not one of my parallel lines, and so the rule doesn't apply for it there. There's some other rules that will help us find those angles if we need them, but we're just going to keep going straight down the parallel line. Now we put those in, and then I kind of say, okay, we already knew these. Let's see, what was this? This was the 50 and the 50, and this was my other 130 right here. I copied these in. Now I'm just going to look at these two parallel lines and copy it down onto this next parallel line, 130, 50, 50, 130, just like it is right here. Then I'm going to basically cover up or fade or ignore, whatever you want to say, that transversal that I already found all the numbers on. And I'm going to use the numbers I was given. I'm given that this one down here at the bottom is 135. Well, this is what it looks like if I'm just finding my verticals and my supplementaries. So I put them on here, and then I take them and I transfer using corresponding angles to the next parallel line. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to carry them up to the next parallel line. So from this one to this one. After you start seeing the pattern, you'll learn to do this. Now, some of you on the test did something kind of like this. You went up this transversal, and then you started putting those angles up this one. No, you have to do the angles up the same transversal, and these angles up or down the same transversal. Don't switch from one transversal to another. Okay. Now, we ready for you to try something here? Yep, here's the guided practice. So here's my guided practice. I am going to look at just one transversal for a moment. And so while I do that, I know it's going to cause all sorts of grief here for a moment. Better use a rectangle, I guess. So I don't care about those right now. Just care about the ones right here. So I covered them up this time. I'm going to use my pen, and I'm going to look. Oh, those aren't parallel lines there, so I'm going to ignore the 119 for right now. This is my first parallel line group. This is 103, so the other one right there has to be 180 minus 103, which is going to be 90. No, it's going to be 77. So this angle right here is 77, and this angle is 77. Okay? Then this angle right here is 103, so this one's 103. I now have my pattern. This is the pattern I'm going to repeat down that transversal. So let's go ahead and repeat it. In fact, I could do corresponding all the way down, but I'm not because that's not the way. Ooh, why did I put 110 there? It's 103. 103 corresponds 77 and 77. Do the same thing again. 103, go down to my next parallel line. 103 there. Corresponding for this corresponds to that. This corresponds to that. This corresponds to that, and this corresponds to that. Okay, now I'm going to take this. And even though I can't make those numbers disappear, at least I don't have to look at that line. Let's see, I'm going to ignore the 119 again because that's not one of my parallel line angles. This is right here. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go, okay, this one right here. Whoop. This one right here has to be 138 because it's vertical. And let's see, what's the other one have to be? It has to be supplementary. So let's see, what is 180 minus 138? See, that's going to be 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. This other angle right here is going to be 42. And this is going to be 42. Okay, so this is the pattern down that transversal. Let's see. This one's 42. This one's 42. The other one is 138. And 138. Once again, I'm just repeating this pattern down the transversal on the parallel lines. Okay, 42, 42, 138, 138. Now, let's get this. Let's delete it. And now I have all my angles. When you do these problems, even if they only ask for this angle, or this angle, or this angle, or this angle, or this angle, if they only ask for one angle, still fill in your transversal. It'll help keep you from making mistakes. Let's look at the ones you're going to do. You've got this one to do, which is very similar. Remember, you're going to ignore the 101 because it's not on a parallel. And then you're going to do these. Think about turning this sideways. Here's parallel lines, and here's parallel lines. So if you figure out these, you can go down this transversal. If you figure out these, you can go across that way also, this time, because this now acts as a transversal. This is an interesting one to look at. So take a look at it. And this only really happens, what you're going to find in this only really usually happens when you have two sets of parallel lines one direction and at least two sets the other direction. Now, I think that's it for this one. It is, oh, I gave you this one to do. This one is, oh, I'm going to give you a little bit of help apparently on this one, but I don't have much time, so I've got to hurry. Okay, they gave us some of these angles. The 60 doesn't mean anything. It's right here. I don't need it for any of my others because I already have angles on my parallels. I'm going to do one on this parallel line first, and I'm going to do it pretty fast. This one has to sum up to 180, so that's going to be 119. 20, let's see, 10, 6, 7, 8. Good. And this one is 61. Well, all of these right here, 119. And then I'm going to go up that same, I'm not going to do that. That's the different transversal. I'm going to go up the same transversal to the next parallel line. That's 119, 119, 119, 119. Okay, the other one is this 61. So this is going to be 61, 61, and 61, and 61. You do the same thing down the other transversal. That's as much time as I have for this video. And so give it your best shot. It's going to ask you what the angles are.